Emma sat in her favorite corner of the cafe, her laptop open and a half-empty cappuccino cooling beside it. She was scrolling through yet another self-help article, trying to find the answer to the question that had plagued her for months. Who am I, really? It wasn't that she didn't have a life. On the surface, everything seemed fine. She had a decent job in marketing, a small circle of friends, and a cozy apartment. Yet, beneath the layers of routine and polite smiles, she felt like a stranger to herself. It was as if she were living someone else's life, going through the motions without truly understanding why. Once again, she found herself drowning in advice that only left her more confused. Meditate, journal, travel, find your purpose. It all sounded good in theory, but none of it seemed to work. Frustrating, isn't it? The voice startled her. Emma looked up to see an older man standing beside her table. His face was kind, lined with the marks of age and wisdom, and his eyes twinkled as if he knew a secret that no one else did. "Excuse me?" she asked, wary yet curious. "Trying to figure yourself out," he said, gesturing to her laptop. "It's a journey most people avoid, but those who take it often find themselves lost." Emma's curiosity deepened. "And you know this because I have been there," he replied, pulling out the chair across from her without waiting for permission. "Mind if I join you?" She hesitated but nodded. Something about him felt oddly comforting. "My name's Peter," he said, extending his hand. "Emma," she replied, shaking it. Peter glanced at her screen and then back at her. "So, you want to know yourself. Let me guess, you have tried all the usual methods and nothing has worked." "Pretty much," she admitted. "Do you have a magical solution?" Peter chuckled. "Not magical, but maybe useful. Tell me, Emma, how much time do you spend truly listening to yourself?" She frowned. I journal sometimes and think about my life a lot." "That's not the same," he said, leaning forward. "Let me teach you something simple. It's called the mirror exercise." Emma raised an eyebrow. "Sounds dramatic." "It can be," he replied with a smile, "but it works. Here's what you do. Go home. Stand in front of a mirror and ask yourself one question. Who am I? Then look yourself in the eyes and answer honestly. No scripts, no filters. Just whatever comes to mind." Emma's skepticism was evident. "That's it?" "That's it," Peter said. "But you have to commit. Spend at least 10 minutes doing it, and don't look away, no matter how uncomfortable it gets." She hesitated, then shrugged. "Fine, I will try it." That evening, Emma stood in front of her bathroom mirror, feeling utterly ridiculous. She had tied her hair back and dimmed the lights, hoping to create an introspective atmosphere, but it just felt awkward. "Who am I?" she asked aloud, her voice echoing in the small space. Her reflection stared back at her, silent and unhelpful. "I am Emma," she said after a moment. "I work in marketing. I like books and coffee. I am decent at cooking." The words felt hollow, like she was reciting facts from a resume. She tried again. "I am someone who wants to be happy. I guess I am confused a lot and tired." Her throat tightened as she spoke. The longer she looked into her own eyes, the more vulnerable she felt, as if she were peeling back layers she hadn't even realized were there. After 10 minutes, she stepped back, shaken but intrigued. Over the next few days, Emma continued the exercise, and with each session, it became easier for her to speak honestly and confront the parts of herself she had long avoided. She admitted her fears, that she was wasting her potential, and that she might never find her true purpose. She acknowledged her regrets, including the friendships she had let slip away and the dreams she had buried because they seemed impractical. Gradually, she began to uncover aspects of herself she hadn't recognized before. One evening, during an exercise, she found herself saying, "I am creative." The word surprised her. She had always considered herself analytical and practical, believing she wasn't the type of person who embraced creativity. However, as she spoke those words, she realized they were true. As a child, she had loved painting, writing stories, and building imaginary worlds. At some point, she had abandoned those passions, convinced that they weren't useful. One Saturday morning, Emma decided to visit a local art supply store. She hadn't picked up a paintbrush in years, but something about reconnecting with her childhood hobbies felt right. She spent the afternoon painting, losing herself in the swirl of colors and textures. It wasn't about creating something perfect. It was about expressing herself and letting the brush move freely across the canvas. For the first time in years, she felt a sense of joy that wasn't tied to productivity or achievement. A week later, Emma returned to the cafe where she had met Peter. She hoped to thank him for his advice, but he wasn't there. She asked the barista about him, describing his kind face and twinkling eyes. "Peter," the barista said, puzzled. "I don't think I know anyone by that name." Emma's brow furrowed. "He was here last week, sitting right there." Emma left the cafe, bewildered. Had Peter been real, or had she imagined him? As Emma walked home, she realized that it didn't matter who the man was, whether a stranger, a figment of her imagination, or something else entirely. His advice had changed her life. Emma didn't have all the answers yet. She was still trying to figure out who she was, what she wanted, and where she was going. But for the first time, she felt like she was on the right path. She had learned that knowing yourself isn't about finding a single, definitive answer. It's about peeling back the layers, confronting the truths you've hidden, and embracing the parts of yourself you have neglected. That evening, as she stood in front of the mirror, she smiled at her reflection and said, "I am someone who's learning." And that's enough for now. Knowing yourself means understanding who you are, what you like and dislike, your strengths and weaknesses, and what is important to you. It involves being aware of your thoughts, feelings, and motivations, which helps you make better choices and live a more authentic and fulfilling life. We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more captivating stories like this one.